You, who did the dance with the brain surgeon, had the brain tumor, and I'm sure your brain surgeon said to you, now, Ellen, if you're going to play soccer again, perhaps you won't head the ball.
Actually, there was never a conversation like that because probably they didn't think I would play soccer. I don't know what it was, or else they were being negligent. But it was never really an issue. It was an issue there at the beginning, but I don't know.
You do it, and your wife probably complains.
No, you know, Tara doesn't mind anymore.
Really?
Because she knows it's happening, and I just, I don't want to. I'm not living to be 100. I'm living to live, and there are certain things that make your life really exciting, and I'm going to continue to take risks for the rest of my life.
Well, you say in here, if an errant ball rolls by, I will still have the urge to kick it, no matter where I am.
Absolutely.
Who invented football?
Oh, there's a chapter in here on the history of the game, and it's traced to various cultures. The ancient Chinese had a game, the Romans had a game, the Greeks had a game, kicking a round ball. So, you know, it's no exaggeration to say that, you know, Attila the Hun invented the game because when they beheaded somebody, they were riding around on horses, and they invented polo by hitting an errant head on the ground. It's very atavistic. And Desmond Morris, who wrote The Naked Ape, has written a book likening football or soccer to the hunt. So clearly there's some primordial target that when you score a goal, I scored a goal the other day that actually was pretty memorable, and weirdly enough, I don't want to do, it's obscene to do it on TV, but my fist went up into the air without me knowing. It wasn't a premeditated act. So where does that come from? That's where you asked me who invented soccer, who invented the hunt.
Of course, you watch any team in victory, and especially the boys. They're worse than, well, I don't know if they're worse than the girls. They're different than the girls.
They're worse.
They're worse. They're jumping on top when they're knocking each other out. They're crazy.
Yeah.
And they're 40 or 50, at any age. It doesn't matter. When they win, the boys of rugby, the gentlemen's sport, same. After they chewed each other's ear in the scrum, and then they're belting each other. How does soccer explain the world to you? How does it bring us together? How does it tear us apart? Is there a link? If I read another book about soccer, that's what I want to. The fallacy that sport necessarily brings everybody together. Again, George Orwell had some very potent things to say about this. So it can. The Euro Cup, which just occurred, was a highly well-organized event, Austria and Switzerland, and it seemed by all monitoring to be a social success. But so sports can ennoble and can bring us together. The Olympics can be a good thing, but just as often it cannot. Of course, there's fatalities at soccer matches.
It's less than it used to be, but yes, the madness. It's basically tribalism, right? When people revert, I shouldn't say tribalism revert, because maybe in some levels we actually have to evolve to tribalism. Who knows? But when the worst aspects of tribalism engulf a population, that could be. Somebody I knew was in a railway station and almost got trampled to death recently just because of the crowds, because of a soccer game.
Yeah.
So that tribalism I find is very scary, and we don't question that in a culture. Even when you see the Vancouver Canucks and the Calgary Flames playing, and then after the game, I saw this couple of the fans wearing the Calgary sweaters, and we're so mild here. It's just really mild.
Yeah.
But the level of animosity that can exist just across a street between strangers is really quite sickening.
It's about the country. It's about other things. It's how can soccer be so barbaric, one question, and aesthetically so pleasing at the same time? You really attempt to answer that question in Full-Time A Soccer Story, and you do somewhat. I want to talk about you and the boys. Your team with Fidel. How old are you? Median age?
Well, the team that went to Europe was basically anybody who could afford to go. So it was but basically I play with guys in their early 50s, and Fidel is probably our best player. He's from Croatia, and he really, you know, there are some guys who are super good, and there's a few players in our league who used to play professionally.
Right.
But he also understands the game in a way that I think I do not, because he grew up with a more sophisticated soccer culture than I did. But he and I play together in midfield, and
However,
it's an emotional relationship.
It's an emotional relationship. So you and the boys go to Spain, and you think you're going to play a team somewhat like yourselves, and guess what?
Right. We'd gone to Spain a few times and played, and had really good social interaction with the French teams that we played, and so we were expecting the same sort of convivial thing with the Spanish, and in fact, it did not happen, and we were a little bit astonished by that.
And you missed the goal.
There is a point in the book which is a low point in my soccer career, but you got to write everything. You know, you got to just tell the truth.
Well, somebody said it's like rutting goats high on adrenaline.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think it was you. But it's about the nature of human sacrifice. It's about much, much more than just kicking that ball around.
It is. But the victory for us is that we behaved well, and that the maturity of our group under great adversity actually was our triumph.
You've been a referee occasionally.
Refereeing is hugely important. I wish I could have written a whole book about being a referee.
Well, the refs get nobody pays attention to the ref till the ref makes a bad call.
The referee is this invisible hero, and the only person who's judging the referee is the referee himself, because he's there 90 minutes watching himself try to legislate fairness. And only when on an occasion, you know, in that 90 minutes, he might be visible to the audience for 30 seconds. But his 90-minute drama is a heroic drama that really interests me.
Well, and when somebody's faking it. No hands, well, I think there were hands, and he sees it and thinks, I'll let that slide, it's not that important. I don't know if refs are supposed to do that, but it seems they do.
One of the things I mentioned in the book, I think, is that if I was training kids to become better players, I wouldn't have them running around between cones and doing all these ridiculous drills. I would put a referee shirt on every kid and say, you get that whistle, you try and understand the game by trying to manage it and try to elevate the action, and it's your job to ensure that it goes this way into a noble affair instead of this way. And that job of the referee is so underrated.
In your research, did you come up with the greatest soccer player ever, Sir? What's that guy's name? Sir Stanley Matthews?
Sir Stanley Matthews was an institution, and we loved the idea of Sir Stanley Matthews, but jumping, is that not a word?
Jumping's
okay,
good.
but Sir Stanley Matthews, okay, brilliant. I played for 50 years and was a very sportsmanlike character. But for me, Ferenc Puskás, the Hungarian, is probably a greater player than Pelé. And there's a chapter in here about why I believe that to be so. Ferenc Puskás, bizarrely, actually coached in Vancouver for 1 year. Most people forget that. But because Puskás and Pelé almost scored equal number of goals on a per goal, like a goal a game.
Right.
So he was just as prolific as Pelé, but Pelé was not a leader in the way that Puskás was. And I think I've watched a lot of sports, and leadership in sports is also, like the referee, something you can't underrate. And so the player who can play really well and also lead is a superior player to the one who just scores fancy goals.
This is such a good book, and it's about much more than soccer. It's about deeper things. And if that little granddaughter of yours, Indigo Taylor Twigg,
that's correct,
never kicks a ball, do you care?
No.
Okay.
All righty.
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you again.
Full-time A Soccer Story, Ellen Twigg. And tomorrow, Midlife Media Doctor, our resident physician, Dr. Art Hister, expands our medical knowledge, and garlic guru Randy Thompson intrigues us with his oddball organics, and a female investment consulting team wants us to stop trying to keep up with the Joneses in their new advice book called Dollars and Censored. Thanks for watching Studio 4. There will be lots more on Shaw TV, only on Shaw TV.